So I hope y'all are having a great day. Jay, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Hopefully, y'all let me know if y'all can hear him on the phone. Let me know. Please give me a yes or no if you can hear him. This has been actually shared to the group. I know, right? I need an apprentice. Roger, you ain't never lied, for real. Jay, how you doing?
I am good over here. How
I'm
about yourself?
good. Look, when you don't know what you're doing on the technical end, you got to rig it, okay? And I won't even add the first word into that, but you got to rig it. You got to make it work. And this is what we're doing. Let me go ahead and tell you who Jay is. H. Elijah Badu is actually the founder of the Madison House up in Washington, D.C. He is a Babalawo. He has so many great things going on. He's my dear friend since, what, 5th grade?
Yes, that's great.
Yeah, I know, right? So we've been rolling, pretty deep for a while. So I'm glad y'all are here. We're going to talk about ancestor veneration, altars, and basic communication techniques. But first, before we get into that, Jay, I'll give you some time to introduce yourself to the group, and then we can go from there.
Peace, love, and light, everyone. I'm H. Elijah Badu, again, co-founder of the Madison House. I spend most of my days, honestly, honoring the mystic art. I have 11 initiations to 11 different ancient spiritual science systems. But my main focus is to awaken up the individual into their own magic. So even though we have these tools, even though we have these paths we can take, it's important for me to waken someone up on their path, and not a path that might just be trendy, but the path that their ancestors actually honored. So therefore, them being able to be conduits and also givers of that ancient medicine is very important. But honestly, I'm just a love bot. I'm just this really, really free being that bops around the world being free. And as a result, I'm able to heal people and allow them to be free too.
Yes, love bot. I like that. I like that. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Jennifer L. Watson. I have the School of Magic that's on YouTube. I do hoodoo. I do candle work. I'm a medium. I'm a psychic. I do a whole lot of stuff. I make bath salts. I make Conjure Oils. And you can find me at Terra Blue a couple of days a week in downtown Greensboro if you're ever around. So ancestor veneration. As Jay had mentioned, working with ancestors, I've also been working with my ancestors for almost 10 years before I even knew what veneration really was. I've done genealogy for about the same time, and I've traced a couple of lines back to Africa, and ironically, her name was Jenny. So imagine me breaking down and crying. But we're not going to go too far into that. What is ancestor veneration, Jay? What is that?
Ancestor veneration is honestly just communication. It's pretty much reverencing your ancestors, lifting your ancestors up, calling on your ancestors, and asking for their guidance in this lifetime. But it's pretty much keeping keeping the honor of the ancestors alive. A man never dies as long as his name is spoken. So we believe in Africa, as long as you lift the name of your ancestor, as long as you're calling on to them, and their soul never dies, we can continue to use them to utilize them to ask for their assistance for our overall bloodline to heal those things such as generational curses and things such as that.
Yeah. So pretty much it's not a religion, right?
No, to honor your ancestors is not a religion. And I really want people to pay attention to this too, because if you go into your post office, if you go into your train station, there's always family crest. There's always statues. There's always these things everywhere that we go and honor ancestors. If you look at your money, baby, that ain't nothing but somebody's ancestors on a dollar bill, and you're lifting them up daily, calling more money into that bloodline. How about that one? You know what I mean? So if you press them with everything, you'll realize that to honor your ancestors, to go to grandma's house, she got a whole corner full of a bunch of pictures of people who are not here anymore. What is she doing? She's honoring the ancestors. So it's nothing to fear, and it's nothing to feel taboo, especially as Black and brown people, especially as people of indigenous blood. Don't fear your ancestors, because trust me, there's people with all kinds of doctrines lifting their ancestors up each day, and those people could possibly even be lifting their ancestors up to oppress you. So how about you use your ancestors to free you, you know?
I know that's right. You better get it. See, this is why we roll. You know what I'm saying? So why should we be venerating our ancestors? Well, I mean, pretty much Jay gave a really good description on what it is and pretty much included in that reason why we should be doing this. And if this is something that you're like, you know what, I don't want to do it, then by all means, that is totally fine. This is not a video to say that you need to run out and do it, okay? This is only for people who actually want to do it. So if you do come across this timeline and you this video and you're like, you know what, I don't really want to do it. I don't want to do that. Totally fine. Trust me. I don't care. Like, I want everybody to do what it is that they feel that they should do. By no means is this propaganda, I guess. But anyway, the best way to answer that question is, why do I do it? So I honor my ancestors because I feel a strong attachment to them. I feel their presence. I feel their pain. I feel their fight. I feel them as people living the lives that they've had during times where we were only, 3/5 of a man. So this is the reason why I honor my ancestors. Another thing that I want to include too is that because I've done my genealogy, the DNA test and such, I have some ancestors that have actually kind of peeked through that are not African descent. And these are Celtic ancestors.
About it. Like,
yes.
When I first started doing my ancestors, well, I remember in my house, I'm up here trying to smudge these light, bright ancestors away. So I'm like, there's no way these white people in my house can be for me. So I'm like, no matter how much I'm trying to smudge, why do they not go away? And then I realized who they was. I had to talk to them one day and be like, oh, we related?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting,
Yes. It's so interesting to be able to connect with those people because, we're always like, oh, let's honor our African descent, or whatever race line I guess you most identify with. But then you realize there are other people coming around to help. Like, for example, I have a Celtic ring of fire as one of my guides had told me in a dream. I had no idea what a Celtic ring of fire was, right? So I have to go and ask Sarah, who's also in the group, ask her, what is a Celtic ring of fire? And she was like, oh yeah, this is this. And I was like, oh my God, this is real? I had no idea that shit was a thing, but so I wear it. All right. Let's go ahead and because I want to make sure that we are covering everything in a timely fashion. So, because when me and Jay get on, like, we can just sit here and roll with it like forever and just run our mouth off. But I'm gonna try to keep it down. What do you think, Jay?
I honor the flow. I know that we do like to run our mouth, but every time we run our mouth, we also bless the people. So we're gonna flow. We're gonna get this together. And we're going to honor the time of spirit and make sure that we're giving the people exactly what they need.
Amen. Ashe. I mean, all that. Okay. So, who do you include on the altar? You want to answer that?
Where do I start? There's several different types of altars. So on your ancestor altars, you can include your ancestors, such as a grandmother, an uncle, a cousin, such as that may have passed, someone who inspired you, someone who walked. They might have had a certain energy that you was able to honor and appreciate. There also are community ancestors, so ancestors such as Harriet Tubman. Right now, there's a lot of Harriet Tubmans, a lot of people are authors. So people such as that as community ancestors. Plus, we have those who showed up to help our bloodline. So there could be a friend of the family. There could be that little old lady who always made sure that you had whatever you need, even though she wasn't a part of your family.
Yes.
So, the type of altar. Or even for stars is more so of a community altar. There's people who have pictures of Aaliyah on their altar, to embrace sacred sexual feminine energy and also divine love. So depending on the exact altar that you're creating, you can have those types of things on your altar. When you're getting more specifically for your ancestors' altar, what we do in my tradition is that we ask our ancestors which one would like to appear there. And then we also make sure that we're adding to our altar our honorable ancestors. Every ancestor out there does not desire to be on the altar. Every ancestor out there does not desire to help. There are some people who are grumpy and publicatory. This is when they were grumpy on earth.
Yeah.
You know, so if we're grumpy in the living world, don't mean they died and gonna start liking your butt now.
Nope.
You know, so certain types of work and things you can do to allow those people to cross over, to allow those people to heal.
Yes.
But you definitely don't want to throw that grandma who always taking from you and scratching you, or might even who sexually assaulted you, but you're gonna put her on your altar now. You know, so just think in terms of that is different ways. But what is this assist? For people not to get too deep and to confuse with that, but those people who inspire you, those people whose power inspired you, those people who uplifted you, you're able to put them on your altar, and also and also using that to channel their energy of upliftment, their energy of empowerment, and to also assign them things. You can assign those who are on your altar certain tasks too.
Yes. Yes. You know, that you just saying that just reminded me, my grandfather, he reminded me that the reason why he's around is to help me do things, because when he was alive, he was a carpenter, like a bootleg carpenter. I don't know. But he used to do stuff in his garage.
He wasn't a bootleg. His spirit gave him those tools.
Yes.
He wasn't no bootleg. He just didn't have a full degree.
I know. Stop correcting me. You're right. But no, like for real, he did build things, and he was always doing. So anyway, he reminded me the other day, like, look, I'm around to help you do. My grandmother was around, who was a teacher, was to help me teach. And I said, I don't know why I did not hear this before. But you know, another thing that I wanted to touch on real quick, what you said, is just because they were here on earth, you know, doesn't mean when they die, they just become holier than thou. Trust me, they don't, because during some readings that I've had some of them kind of look at me crazy, like, who is you? And why are you over here trying to talk to me while I'm trying to give a reading to somebody? And I gotta go, hi. So I have to introduce them, you know, in my mind and tell them who I am, and they look at me like I'm crazy. But anyway, so what do? We help to venerate them, right, Jay?
Yeah, you know, and again, it's to call on to the ancestors. You know, one thing that I share about in my ancestral communication workshop is the dialogue. You know, starting the dialogue with your ancestors. So it's a relationship, the same way that we have relationships here. There's certain rules, even as it relates to communicating. For those who might be even more sensitive and can sense spirit, can see spirit, can hear spirit, where there's dialogue. Hey, I love you, but this stuff is brand new for me.
Yeah.
So, starters, can we start off this way? Can you make sure that a light blinks in the left corner of the house anytime that you need to get my attention? Can you make sure that, or maybe I wish to see you, but I don't quite wish, or I wish to speak to you, but I'm not sure how ready I am to see you. So maybe start off by presenting yourself in my dreams, and then we can get more comfortable with the physical world.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a conversation. I sing songs, so it can be a simple song. And I sing songs for my ancestors. There's certain things that I know that my ancestors like. I interview each family member about any deceased relative to find out what foods they like, what candies they like, what alcohol they like. In my family, we come from the cannabis bloodline, so I want to know what type of ganja they like.
No, that's right.
You know what I mean? But things like that, perfume.
Yes.
You know, so different things like that we're able to use on our altars, and also to uplift the ancestors in that way.
Yeah.
It's a conversation too, like not a conversation that they. Sometimes when people learn the voice of prayer, or sometimes when people learn the voice, or learn in religious context, a lot of times you're speaking to some superhuman God who's also controlling and authoritative, and you're also speaking to them with a voice that doesn't have confidence. You be confident when you speak to the ancestors, and not only do you be confident, but you be absolute. Don't ask for something that you be clear too. You know, if you ask for money, and all day you walking around and you finding pennies and nickels and stuff on the ground, and then you go home and be like, ancestors, you ain't giving me no money. Yo, they still your elder. They got that salty tongue. They will smack their lips and be like, what do you mean? I'm giving you what you asked for.
Yeah.
You know, but if you specific amount, then be specific with the ancestors.
Yes.
Also, get your butt out the way so they can show up and do the work. When you're working with ancestors, you're also believing in surprise, miraculous gifts.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So things come outside of your conception, outside of the way that you think it's to happen. When I work with my ancestors, to be honest with you, I don't like to think. Why? Because I get confused thinking. And what I will do is like, yo, can you bring this to me with clarity? Like, hey, situation just happened. I'm going to send it off to you. You provide the information that's needed. You provide it back to me with clear intentions. Even if it's a matter of how I'm going to create this product and release the product or get this product out to the world.
Yes.
Ancestors, I'm listening to you and I'm channeling what you asked me to do. I'm trusting you to connect the cellular, the internet frequencies, to connect the people, to bring the people.
Yes.
You know, even us healers, if I can add this in for a quick moment.
Yeah.
Us healers, those people who are doing the healing work for other people. It's important for you to also know that you can use the ancestors of everyone that you ever healed to make sure things show up in your life. You know, so think about that spiritual reciprocity. Think about what's coming back because you showed up and healed somebody on the street who thought they were about to die, and now their ancestors are celebrating in jubilee for the fact that you showed up and was able to save someone in their bloodline who now is able to show up and do the work.
Yes.
So think about those communities, those ancestors who just like, yo, I got his back. Let's make sure all things happen. Let's make sure that things show up the right way for them.
Yes.
You know, so again, working with your ancestors for me is like having a relationship with my fairy godparents.
Yes.
You know, I watched those movies and I always thought I would be the chosen one. I always thought that if I had a wish to make or if I had a way to be able to speak to these fairy people and tell them the things that I need to make myself whole, rooted, and comfortable in earth. Yes. You know, and actually have people who can provide that for you.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we have a couple of questions, and we're going to get to those at the end. So we're going to dive into the material, and I see Tabrisha Allen. Please let me know if I'm saying your name correctly. I like to make sure that I'm pronouncing names correctly. You said I was always told you don't choose them, they choose you. Is that only for guides and ancestors? We're going to touch on that at the end because that's a little bit more of a longer conversation. So bear with me. Don't let me forget. Stay to the end as we dive on into this next section on how to build an altar. So Jay gave a lot of great points on, you know, people that are in the community that might be ancestors, people that are in your direct bloodline that are ancestors. So if you want to build a place where you can provide reverence, you know, to these people, then where should you even put the altar? Like, for one, this is always a big question. Can I put it in my bedroom? So, you know, if you had asked me this, you know, probably a year or so ago, I'm like, oh yeah, go ahead and do it. No, I would not suggest that, because if you don't want them interfering with your dreams like every single night, and just constantly in your ear, I would strongly suggest you not do it. So I would suggest that you find a place in your house that you can pretty much kind of close off if you need to. Like, if you want to go in there and be with them, then be with them. But if you don't want them nudging you, you know, constantly, because sometimes if you're not always in spirit and working in spirit, you don't always want to be bothered, and that's just the real of the situation. I know for me and Jay, we're constantly in this area of spirit world, so the communication tends to kind of go on a little bit too much, but we love them. So if you want to put it in, like, for example, I don't know, an attic, a closet, if you want to section off a place in your front room to do so, then by all means do it. And you can use anything. You can use a small table, you can use a bookshelf, you can use whatever it is. It's really not anything that you got to dig too deep into and think about it too much, because you got to think about the purpose more so than the aesthetics of it, right? There are some things that Jay had touched on earlier as far as what do you put on your altar. So I am going to show you real quick some things that I have had on my altars. As soon as I can get it over here, it's stuck to my rock. I like to make sure that I have a representation of all the elements. And so like for right here, this is a pyrite and crystal quartz cluster. This represents earth. Glass of water. And if you have a glass of water, then I would suggest that you do them in odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 9.
I would also suggest that you have water. You don't let that water be foggy and dirty and not clean on the ancestor altar. So definitely, if you're going to have things on the ancestor altar that is light, make sure that you are sustaining that life and you're not allowing things to die on the ancestor altar.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I'm so glad you said that because I forgot. Yeah, you don't want to let your water get foggy. Because it looks ugly and it's dying, and you want to make sure that you're constantly refreshing it. I was told you can refresh the water every day. You can refresh it once a week. I would not go beyond a week. I honestly don't recommend that. I would say at least every other day, 2 to 3 times a week. Would you agree, Jay?
I would say that also, yeah. And for me, one of my Kemetic teachers, one of the practices that she does is that we have fresh water on the altar each day. And each day we change the water out, and that's literally like tending to the altar. And then we just pour that water out into a plant. You know, and again, if that's too much consistency, then you can do it every other day or every 3-day type of thing. But definitely you don't want it to go past the week. You don't want to go past the week. Also, a little encouragement for those who might not have their own space or might be in a space that might look at them strangely if they have an ancestor altar. You can also use a private, it could be a dresser or a private bookshelf. You can also use a box. So you can have a personal box. A lot of times we have boxes that we make in some classes that I have here where you can carry that box with you. And that box can also be a representation of the ancestor. And for advanced people also, you yourself are also the first altar. You're also the first point of reference. So we won't dive too deep into that today, but that's definitely something that we share in our ancestral communication workshop.
Yes, yes. There are some other things that you can include on there. Obviously, pictures. This is a picture of my grandmother. Cigarettes. I have my grandmother's glasses that she wore just about daily. Can't forget the liquor. And I'm just showing you some examples. Oh, white altar cloth. So you can see this is some lace. I got this from like Goodwill. Sometimes I use it to wrap my hair. Whenever I wrap it. I put money on there. I also have these are interesting. So quick story. So my husband is also gifted, although he does not want to even say that he is, but he is. We went into this antique store and he was like, yo, your ancestors are yelling at me. And I was like, why? He was like, they're telling me to tell you to go look over there. So I go look over there, and these are Irish, I don't know if you can really see it clearly, but it's Irish horse derby tickets, which was really interesting because, of course, I do have Irish ancestry. I just talked about the Celtic earlier. I'm trying to show you clearly, but I don't know that it's going to not be. It is blurry. So those are just some examples of things. You can write their names down, and if you don't know their names, then you can say known and unknown. You could put candles. I forgot to include that because that is fire. So we have fire, earth, water, air. Yeah, air. Incense. Yes, incense for air. I guess what else would you include, Jeff?
Honestly, all those things are very great and very basic. Not to overwhelm them with this introductory, but just those things. Yeah. Also, so for people who might not know their ancestors, people who might be adopted, people who might come from families who don't quite share much information, the ancestors can also guide you. You know, so don't worry about I don't know. It'll be present with where you show up and how you might arrive somewhere. When you get there, it's something that's just perfect for them. Yeah. You know, our footsteps, that footstep thing, they definitely guide, honor, and move our footsteps.
Yes.
So when you're not really thinking about the I don't know, you arrive in the already of the doing of the process.
Yes. So I see Roger said I do water and coffee daily. Yes, coffee is definitely an offering. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about offerings. Once you have, the basics, again, don't rush off and try and do stuff. Just be guided towards adding things. If you want to just put down a picture, one glass of water and a white cloth and a candle, I mean, that's an altar. You know what I mean? So you don't have to have some elaborate kind of setting. We're just giving you ideas of things that you can add. And as you go along with your daily life, you might find and pick up some things along the way to go, oh, wait, I can add that to my altar. Like, I didn't have this Irish Derby thing for since I've had an altar. Like, I just found it like a couple months ago. Other things, too, for offerings, the coffee. If you're cooking food, not like running out to Burger King or McDonald's or anything kind of food, but if you're cooking and you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into that food, go ahead and break your ancestors awesome. Like my grandfather liked fried chicken. You know what I mean? You put fruit, you can put candy, especially for the children, the ancestors that passed over when they were children. You can add that for them.
And the messengers, also too, the messengers, those gatekeepers, those who share the messages, yes. They like candy and junk. So it's okay to give messengers candy and junk. Yeah, that's the thing too. Liquor. I know we spoke about that earlier, but there's certain ancestors who want some liquor. You give me this good liquor, I'm gonna do anything you want me to do. You know what I mean?
Man, let me tell you, we'll just I put a little bit of everything on there, all the kind of vices. Again, like we said earlier, just because they died, doesn't mean that they don't have desires in the spirit world as well, like they did when they were in humanly form. So you've gotten your ancestor altars set up. Now, what do you do? Well, do you have to? So here is what I would suggest, is that once you know who's on your altar, you're going to have to invite them into your place. I know Jay touched on it a little bit earlier. You're going to have to invite them there. You have their stuff there, but you also have already made sure they want it to be there. So you light your candle, preferably a white candle. Set your incense. You might have your water out. You might have the offering. That white candle pretty much kind of serves as a doorbell saying, hi, I got you some stuff. Come on down. Let me chat with you.
Doorbell, get a bell. They use the doorbell part. Get a little bell and be like, chingy, chingy.
Yes. Duh. You definitely can put an actual bell on your altar. You can definitely do that. So invite them in, talk to them. One thing I will say is that during your talking, don't make it seem as if, hey, how you doing? By the way, can you do this for me? This is a two-way relationship. This is not just, you're going to do for me, and I'm not going to give you anything. You want to make sure that you're reciprocating the relationship back and forth, making sure that they're getting what they need on the other side, because some people do burn ancestor money, as well as you're being able to get what you need fulfilled in the physical world by them helping you, right? And you can do this. You can do it every day if you want. Go and talk to your ancestors. I mean, you don't have to be at your altar to talk to them. You can talk to them anytime you want. But make sure that you are establishing a relationship, especially with those people that you might not have known in the physical world, right? You're establishing a relationship. You're letting them know, hey, I'm here. Hey, I honor you. Hey, I love you. Now can we partner up? This is a partnership. Think of it as a partnership. If you will go about it that way, then everything in life will be so much easier. I promise you.
So what the topic of that partnership, though, because partnership is an agreement where both parties agree to show up as 100% individual to bring that collective pot together for whatever percentage in that partnership. So you as 100% being the ancestor of the 100% spirit, collectively adding 50% to create this 100% pot for your lineage, right? So don't boy and plus girl. You know, so you're asking them to keep making changes, but you're not committed to making changes in your life. You're asking them to give you discernment, but yet you keep sleeping with that person who don't do you no good anyway, but yet you do it because you don't have nothing else to do. You know what I mean? So just make sure that you're showing up to your part of the agreement, that you're honoring your part of the partnership, so that you're just not asking the ancestors to do stuff for you, and you're not listening, because what they will do is look a Mickey in that drink. They will keep Mickey in that attention. And they'll send you on a lesson that will take you forever to win, and you're going to go through so much throughout that process. So what you want to do is pimp and use the ancestors.
Yes.
At the same time, too, knowing that do not allow anyone else to pimp and use your ancestors against you, too. You know?
Yeah, I think that might be a talk for a different day. That's some real. So pretty much, yes, you want to make sure that you're doing that, because you don't want to create more drama in your life than there needs to be. So how do you talk to them? How do you? I mean, it's pretty much just as if I'm sitting here talking to you as I'm sitting here on the phone with Jay, right? It's really is that simple. And I know a lot of people ask, I think I'm blocked. I can't hear them. I don't know if they're talking to me. So here are some things that we're going to tell you that is very, 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 very simple, that is going to make sure that you have communication. First and foremost, the first thing I will say, and Jay, you can jump in when you want. The first thing I will say is that it is literally a matter of a thought popping into your head. It is distinguishing the difference between spirit communication and your imagination. And a lot of times, those are one and the same. So, yeah, you might feel like you're crazy. You might feel like, oh, I don't know if this is them. Stop second guessing yourself. Stop guessing. Stop saying, I'm not doing it right. Because truly, the matter is that there is no right. Everyone is going to show up the way that they want to present themselves to you. You have to ask, hey, can you show up in my life as a bird or as a shiny penny on the street? If you don't ask, then you're going to continue to feel like you're nuts. It is that simple. It's very, very simple. Jay, what do you think?
I'm agreeing. I have to transcend from listening to the voice in my head to listen to the voice of the dead, aka the voice of the spirit, you know. So, and again, you know, that thin line is a thin line between getting the space up in your head and actually quiet down and listening and being able to communicate with spirit. But it's just that thought. And it's just that thought.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. One thing I too will add is that what it will also help you in your communication is that if you stay present, because as humans, we are usually either too far in the past, you know, or we're too far in the present. And if we're too far in the present, then we're holding anxiety in our heart. If we're too far in the past, you know, we're just like, oh, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. You know, nothing worked before. Why should it work now? The only thing that is truth, the only thing that is happening is literally what is happening at this moment. At this moment. At this moment. You get my point? So it's like right here. Right here. You have to stay in the present and you have to stay now. In the now. Because if you're too far in the past and too far in the future, how can your body be able to receive communication that is happening at that moment? Your body is not energetically aligned to receive anything because of the worry, the anxiety, the regrets, things of that nature. So once you start to release those type feelings and those lower vibrating emotions, the more receptive you'll be to receiving the communication that you need in your life from your ancestors.
I agree. You know, I definitely agree with that. You have to be present. You have to be there in order to receive it. So you can't receive a gift if you're not there to pick it up. So if you're too far in the past, how can you receive it now? If you're too far in the future, how can you receive it now? So it does require the presence of it now. A lot of people who write to me and say, I can't hear my ancestors, I'm talking to them clearly. What it is that you're just too busy to scatter that you're not sitting down and they're present. You fear stillness, so you tell yourself that you can't sit still. And as a result, you perfectly capable manifesting being and constantly manifesting situations in your life where you can't sit still. So congratulate yourself on being that powerful and choose to use your words and intentions another way.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I see we have another question. What should we say to invite our ancestors in? Okay, so we're going to get to that question here in a second. We got two questions they're going to answer, and let me just make sure. Let me see here. What else can we say? Oh, so being present, making sure that you are tuning in, making sure that you are aware. And another thing that I too will add is if you hear something and it doesn't make sense right off, pay attention to it. Keep it in the forefront of your mind, because that could very well be communication that's coming from one of your ancestors that you might not have, I guess, realized before, if that makes any sense. Because sometimes they can come in and they can say something that we might not really understand at the moment. But if you decide to maybe keep a dream journal, write things down as you wake up, or keep a daydream journal, I'm sure that's probably a thing somewhere. Write that down, you know what I mean? Because that's something that you can always go back and revisit. And that way you can kind of see a trail of communication and then go, oh, wait, I get it now. I see this, and this is all adding up. There's several different ways that you can make sure that you're keeping that connection, but these are just some basic things that we can help you to be able to connect with your ancestors. And so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and ask Jay to close us out before we get to the questions about your ancestor communication workshop.
Shout out to it. Peace, love, and light, everyone. Again, I am H. Algebra Badu of the Madison House. And I'm an adversary of the Eight Gold. I am a messenger for the ancestors, and I just love them. They love me, and we just interact. And not just my ancestors, but everyone's ancestors. The purpose of this ancestor communication workshop is for us to get over any type of fear, for us to be able to relax and breathe, and ask the questions that we need as it relates to how to communicate with the ancestors. But the other part is because I'm a friend of the ancestors, I'm also able to speak directly to you as it relates to practices and things that your ancestors want directly from you as we continue to guide you on your journey. So therefore, you can be comfortable in the practice, not just about the ancestor altar, but you can be comfortable in the practice of being able to communicate with your ancestors on a consistent basis. Also remember that the work that you do for yourself also trickles within your bloodline. One of the amazing things that I love about working with the ancestors is that you're able to heal things in your bloodline. So there might be a grandma, uncle who might have had an alcohol problem, and they suffer from alcoholism. They might have been genius. They might have been possible, been able to be successful in life, but the alcohol got them down. Or maybe that bad relationship got them down, and maybe that's the reason why many generations of many people are having those bad relationships or suffering from that alcoholism. When you're doing the work to heal your ancestral bloodline, the work that you do for your ancestors also release within the ancestors that are showing up here in your bloodline now. So it might be your brother who's suffering from alcoholism. It might be your mother who's currently in a relationship that don't suffer. It might be your own stuff. But either way, work that we're doing for the ancestors is able to heal, is able to liberate us, so that we can move on and do the work that we chose to come down here to do as change makers. Whether that means you have your own spiritual practice, or whether that means you are your own spiritual practice.
Yes, 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 yes. So look, when that comes up, you all will be the first to know, because Jay is going to put that up. Excuse me, let you know when this workshop is available. So here's what we're going to do. This video is going to stay up on Facebook for the next 24 hours. And so feel free to go back and look, because after that, it's going to be deleted and it'll be added over to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/School of Magick. Magick is spelled MAGICK. youtube.com/School of Magick. That way you can go ahead and hit the replay and listen, get all of this good information down. Myself, as well as Jay, H. Algebra Badu, we are both in. Now, look, I know some of y'all looking for my for my personal page, but we're both in Conjuring with Roger, the Facebook group. So we're both in this group. So by all means, if you ever have any questions, then let us know. All right, so real quick, let me scroll up because I see we had another question by someone that said, I was always told you don't choose them, they choose you. So is that only for guides and not ancestors? So let me go ahead and just kind of give the simple breakdown on this. All right, we have a whole team of people, right, that's in a spirit role that's helping us, whether that's ancestors, whether that's spirit guides, whether that's, if you believe in angels, if it's, orishas, it's a whole lot of people. It's a whole lot of people. So pretty much, if you wanted to use the word guide, I mean, essentially all of them are helping to guide us, essentially. Then yes, spirit guides, who are people that were not traditionally in our bloodline, are guides that is something where you choose each other. You choose each other to work with. This is, and I'm trying to give you the simple answer because I know that there are different levels of spiritual development, and a lot of times our guides are paired with us and matched with us to make sure that they're able to elevate us to the next level within our current lifetime. And in order to be able to do that, then they have to be have their own certain spiritual rankingness, whatever. I don't know. I like to make up a lot of words. So in essence, to answer your question, you choose each other. Okay, now let's go to the ancestors. All right, your ancestors, they don't choose you, obviously, because they're in your family, right? And a lot of times they're in your family for a certain reason, right? Sometimes people that are in your family are not they're not going to be on the same spiritual, level of development as you are, which is why a lot of people kind of like, oh, I can't stand, why doesn't my mom understand what I'm doing? Well, that's because you're on two different planes, right? So did they come into your family line as a human to be able to try to gain some clarity? Yeah, probably. You choose each other, really, before you make some kind of contract before you come down in human form. But on the flip side of that, there could be another school of thought that says, no, your ancestors, y'all are together and you don't choose who your ancestors are. Okay, so I'd like to ramble a lot, so I'm trying to make sure I stay on track with answering your question. So could they choose you? Could they not choose you? Well, I mean, yeah, sort of, kind of. It just really all depends on the contract that you're making. What do you say?
There are some, I would say that I am chosen by the ancestors because Lord knows all these people come staring at me. I don't consciously call choosing them. I do know that I made a choice to show up in this bloodline. So I didn't make a choice when I was over there and having a room or whatever the cosmos existed before you show up in this physical form.
Yeah.
But the ones who show up in my life, I get thanks that they chose me to be the one to do this work and to show up on behalf of the bloodline to be able to communicate with or save myself through them, whatever the case may be.
Yes.
So there's a little duality in that.
Yes. And that's what I agree with too. There are some people, like I said, that's a whole nother school of thought. I know that I've set contracts with all these people. You set contracts, and we all just kind of here in this party on in humanly form, and when they die, they become an ancestor. So essentially, to answer your question, yeah, you choose everybody. Okay, so I hope that answered. Okay, so we have another question that says, what should we say to invite our ancestors in? I like to not yell, but I like to say their name very loudly to make sure that they know who they are and to make sure that they know who I am and to say, hey, I am literally inviting you into my home to make it your home, to invite you down. It doesn't really have to be anything very particular. You could use like a song while you're doing it, a particular song that they might have liked, or you could be smoking a cigar to invite them in. A lot of smoke is a good conductor, whatever, of spirit to invite them into your place. cigar smoke, incense smoke, things of that nature. And water is a conduit of spirit. So with the water already being there, you don't really have to worry too much about what it is that you say exactly, more so than what you are doing to invite them in.
Yes. So I come from the ratchet bloodline. So I sometimes bust in the room and be like, hey, I just come here kind of loud sometimes, So it's just whatever the relationship is that you have. Literally, your ancestors is your family. Your ancestors are you. The same way that you would turn up with somebody, you can turn up with your ancestors. There are some strong words, so one word that I use is Mojuba, which is ingredient for the ancestor, or reading in general, but Mojuba, Granny, Mojuba, Granddaddy, Mojuba, Aunt Betsy, whoever these people may be. But honestly, it's yourself. The same way that you would greet your grandma or your cousin in the room that you just so happen to see, it's the same way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Free Love says, yes, I pay attention to my daydreams also. Oh yeah, I daydream one hell of a lot. Like I'm always getting a whole bunch of communication during my daydreams. I just don't keep a journal. Well, I guess I kind of do. I write down random notes in notebooks. Like I keep a whole lot of notebooks. So yeah. All right. So is there a possibility of bringing in negative spirits, and how do we keep them out? Well, that is a really good question. There is, says my friend sitting behind the computer. Yes, okay. What I would strongly suggest that you do, and I should have said this earlier, and I don't know why we didn't say this, is make sure that you clean yourself with sage, with a spiritual bath, with whatever it is, Palo Santo, make sure that you're cleaning the area. You can actually wipe down the physical case wherever you're going to put your altar up. You can use just a simple mix of ammonia and water. Ammonia is a really good cleansing agent. It wipes all of the energy away. It strips all of the energy away. So you want to make sure that you're going back in and replacing all of the stripped energy, since it's a blank slate, with something that is good energy. And so that is what you want to make. So that means you can burn the incense, you can burn the lavender, whatever it is. So now that you have your space cleansed, make sure you have yourself cleansed before you approach your altar, because if you're not, you can bring in not only energy from other people that you might have encountered during the day, or you could be bringing in, your neighbors, I don't know, whatever it is, some that's not of you, that is negative, and negative will attract negative. So like attracts like. So make sure that you keep yourself balanced before you approach your altar, before you start this communication, so that you can make sure that everything is going as smoothly and as positively as possible.
I'm so happy you said that negative attracts negative, light attracts light, because a lot of times too, if you're living in fear, so if you're in this practice of the ancestors, but your thought is that I might be inviting, whatever in, then chances are you're opening that door for that thing to enter.
Yes.
So first thinking that every time you communicate with your ancestors, if you don't really know what to trust it, because there could be somebody in there doing something bad, chances are that's the case because you focus, you act, you invite it in, and have access. So the more fortified you feel, then the stronger your force field is, or your channel of communication is also. And there is certain things, to go back to the previous question. I give thanks, or I call on to my my honorable ancestors. So I'm asking all honorable ancestors to come in. I'm asking all honorable ancestors to come in. Yeah, that could be a thing.
Yeah.
Also, so there we go.
Oh no, you good. I'm just agreeing. I'm just getting, I'm like, yay.
There's some way to wrap it up. I got my mouth shut.
I love it. Okay, so I think we gave y'all a lot of information today. Had no idea we were going to go an hour, but you know what? Spirit flows. We go where spirit flows, right? So we want to make sure that we give you a lot of good information. Key thing of the day is that if you are going to go into this, make sure that you are clean, make sure that you are balanced, make sure that you have no fear, and make sure that you are listening to yourself and listening to whatever guidance that you get, even if you might think you are crazy, okay? All of it. All of it. Don't question yourself. You got this. You've got this. I promise you. Jay talked about a little bit earlier, just to reiterate, he's going to put up information in the group about his Ancestor communication workshop that's going to really take a really deep dive into all of this information that we presented, because what we presented was kind of surface level, but it goes even deeper, if you can believe that. So I love y'all. I had so much fun today talking to you all, as well as my dear homie from another mother, H. Elijah Badu. And I'll see y'all in the group.
Peace, love, and light. I will be in the group too. So if you ever need me, reach out. I post a lot of stuff online, so my people are good at making sure content is going out there. But I might need to be reminded to check certain messages. But definitely don't be afraid to be like, I hit you up, follow up with me.
Yes.
Because I float in space a lot, and I just need to know when to land. So when I land, I always got you.
Yes.
I'm happy that everyone's showing up. I'm happy to be a part of this collective. And trust yourself first. You know what I mean? Love yourself always.
Yes, trust yourself first, love yourself always. Woo, you said a word right there. I know, right? Man, that hit my heart right there, for real, for real. All right, y'all take care. See y'all on the other side. Deuces.